Well, hello and welcome to our continuing coverage of Avoya Travel's Travel Advisor Appreciation Month and this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion, and we appreciate your time for tuning in today. So many exciting things happening in our industry, so much excitement about the future, and yes, still plenty of worry about the present, but when you look forward, wow, things look very bright. We have a great Q&A coming up for you today. Today, I'm excited to chat with Cindy and David Locke, co-owners of Seize the Seas, an independent agency in the Avoya Network, for a great Meet the Network segment. Now, you may have seen Cindy and David's story featured before, as they're our top affiliates in the network, and we're proud and excited to showcase their success as it pertains to the Avoya Network. We'll be discussing luxury travel, what clients are saying right now. We'll even solicit a few tips from them both on how to be an effective travel advisor, and then we'll talk wish list destinations. Where in the world do two people who seem like they've been everywhere still want to go? I'm kind of curious to find out. That Meet the Network feature coming up here in just a few minutes. We're also going to tackle this week's top travel news stories and our Eye on the Industry feature. Now, some of the stories we're going to touch base on include a new report that looks at travel's future impact on the economy, and the number is staggering. It starts with a T. Secrets is opening a new location in Isla Mujeres, just off the Cancun coast. We'll have details on that resort and the timeline for opening. Norwegian Cruise Lines in the news a couple of times as they get ready to reopen all the kids programs, as well as an announcement this week on capacity limits in Hawaii. And it's not because people don't want to sail, that's for sure. And we'll wrap up our Eye on the Industry feature with the latest news on Cuba and travel with some promising news coming out this week. We'll get to those stories very shortly. We're also going to take a moment to highlight some of the top resources exclusively available to those in the Avoya Network, like live leads, smart leads, elite technology support, and professional development. Resources that can meet you where you are in your travel career. Listen, if you're new to the industry, we have you covered with some of the most amazing resources ever. If you have some experience, but you're still struggling to take your agency to that next level, we have amazing resources for you too, so you can accomplish that goal. And listen, if you're already a top seller of leisure travel, but you want a better place to call home with the industry's deepest vendor relationships, top commission levels, and all the bells and whistles you need to manage your high-end agency, we can assist there too. So we'll make sure you have all the ways to connect and contact us so you can get that information going and see if you want to be a part of the #1 host agency in the industry 7 years running. Okay, so let's kick it off. This week's On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update with our Eye on the Industry feature. Travel Pulse had a great story this week about a report released from the World Travel and Tourism Council concerning the economic impact travel will have in North America over the next decade. The North American travel and tourism sector is expected to grow at an average annual rate of 3.9% over the next 10 years and puts the industry on track to reach an impressive $3.1 trillion impact by 2032. 3.1 trillion. Wow. The report went on to say that the travel and tourism sector will create an astonishing 9.5 million new jobs in the next decade, with employment growing at close to 4% a year. The Global Tourism Leadership Group is anticipating the industry's recovery will continue to gain speed for the rest of this year, and its contribution to the GDP will increase 38.2% to reach that number. Wow. Sector employment growing by 19%. So when you hear us say we're getting ready for this expected golden period in travel, we're not just wishing and hoping. The statement is backed by the best business intelligence the industry can offer, and certainly can be seen in Avoya Travel's enthusiasm for the future of our industry. Our friends at Apple Leisure Group made a big announcement this week concerning their Secrets Resort brand. Secrets is opening a new location off the coast of Cancun in Isla Mujeres. The all-inclusive Secrets Impression Isla Mujeres is expected to open this December. It'll feature 125 rooms, each outfitted with a double rain shower and ocean view terraces with whirlpools. The Secrets Impression Isla Mujeres will offer 4 tiered infinity pools, a secret spa, a large whirlpool with the capacity for 30 guests, and then, of course, to appeal to the kids and all of us, even though it's an adults-only resort, a water slide that swirls down from the main pool to the sea. The resort will be the second to feature the Secret Impression concept, which enables guests to receive personalized butler service and other perks. The first Secrets Impressions will open June 1st in Playa del Carmen. Our friends at Norwegian Cruise Lines made the news a few times this week with a couple of important updates. First up, all the kids programs at NCL are expected to be open by June 1st. Right now, it's a ship-by-ship decision. About half of the kids programs are open. They've been trying to limit capacity since the younger cruisers, those under 5, are not yet eligible for a COVID vaccine. But NCL has reported no major COVID outbreaks on its ships, so it's time to let the little ones mingle again so mom and dad can enjoy their cruise too. And then second in the news from NCL this week is news that they're limiting capacity for sailings on the Pride of America. And it's not because of demand, but it's because of staffing issues. Quoting NCL President Harry Sommer, our issue with Hawaii isn't one of demand. Similar to land-based properties within the US, we have problems securing enough staff to get the ships up to full speed. Going on to say they'll never sacrifice service to the guests. They're instead going to limit capacity. And as of yesterday, they said they've put a stop sell on every voyage through the end of October. So you can't even book the Pride of America until November right now. The Pride of America normally has a staff of between 930 and 940 people. Right now, they're at just under 550. It is a big issue for a lot of people, especially that particular ship and the issues that it faces because it doesn't hit an international port of call. And finally, Cuba is in the news as the Biden administration is rolling back some rules introduced by the Trump administration on people-to-people travel to that long forbidden destination. The U.S. Department of State has announced they'll make it easier for families to visit their relatives in Cuba and for authorized U.S. travelers to engage with Cuban people, attend meetings, and conduct research. For travelers, these changes will mean the expansion of the number of commercial and charter flights to Havana and other cities within Cuba and allow for more Americans to interact with Cuban people through authorized groups on the people-to-people visits. Now, individual people-to-people visits have not been reinstated, and no word yet on what's going to happen with cruise, which, of course, prior to the shutdown had been incredibly popular. It was great for travel agents because the premium was pretty good. The commissions were pretty good on that. So we'll have to continue to follow that story as it has big implications for our industry. And again, thanks to Travel Weekly and Travel Pulse for information from today's Eye on the Industry feature. All right, time for my favorite segment. And based on your feedback, which by the way, we love, it's your favorite segment too. Today, we have a great Meet the Network feature as part of Avoya Travel's Travel Advisor Appreciation Month. The members of the Avoya Travel Network are amazing. They're incredibly inspirational. When you consider everything a travel advisor's been through, what they're still going through, and all while trying to remain upbeat, positive, focused on selling and sending people on amazing vacations, I am personally in awe of them. Well, today's two guests are certainly worthy of being in awe of, as year after year, they generate top sales as the #1 affiliate in the Avoya Network. If you daydream of selling high volumes of luxury travel, then pay very close attention to today's discussion because Cindy and David Locke, owners of Seas to Seas, are about what you should be emulating and striving for when you have that daydream. So let's welcome in our featured guests today here for On Deck with Avoya, Cindy and David Locke. So great to have you back on the show today.
Hey, Chris.
So the first question is for the both of you, but Cindy, I want to start with you. Tell me a little bit, just for information purposes, how you ended up in the travel industry and then how you ended up as an affiliate with the Avoya Travel Network.
I started off with Oceania and
Hey, Cindy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think your camera is still off.
it's up. Let's go back. Not working.
Uh-oh.
On the window, the bottom.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's not doing it.
Technology snafus. At least everybody knows this is a live program because if it wasn't right, we would just fix these kind of glitches. Well, Cindy, I certainly appreciate you being on the show. And while you're trying to figure that out, I'm going to morph over to David and just, David, I know your journey into travel was slightly different than Cindy's. Maybe you can dovetail on what her explanation was and how you got into the industry.
Yeah, I was working in the corporate world for my whole career. Not happy. Cindy was working for Oceania as a home-based reservations agent. And for about 9 to 10 months, got trained by Oceania. It was a great gig, working from home. And then one day Oceania called and said, you can't work from home anymore. You have to commute to Miami. And Cindy said, I don't want to commute to Miami. What else can I do? I'm telling Cindy's story. Now she's there.
There she is.
And it was Oceana who recommended Avoya, which was then called America's Vacation Center. And they said, it's the only place to go as a home-based agent. So she started in December of '04. I would come home from work every night watching her make money hand over fist at Avoya. And I said, I want to do that. I called Brad Anderson and he said, well, you have no experience in travel. You know, if Cindy agrees to train you, you can join. So Cindy agreed. I started February 5th of '05 and part-time. Cindy, covered for me while I was working my day job. July 5th of '05, I quit my day job and we've never looked back. Avoya is our only source of income together. And we've never looked back. The first year was kind of tough because you're working, but none of the money's coming in until people actually sail or travel. And, of course, we were living on Cobra, but we've since gotten good insurance otherwise. But then the second year comes and two things happen. The people you booked last year are traveling, so the money's coming in, and the people you booked last year are calling you to rebook. So you're getting new free rebookings, repeat business, as well as money coming in, and then it just snowballs from there if you can hold out the first year.
That's fantastic introduction and a great way to get into the industry. Cindy, when you were growing up, was travel something that was vital and important to you, or where did that love of travel come from?
I started cruising when I was about 11 years old with my parents. At that point, we were driving from New Jersey down, and we would just walk over to the ship and get on the ship, no advance notice. And that's when I fell in love with it. And ever since I have been cruising.
I can only imagine the difference in they probably called their bells and whistles on those first cruises versus the just unbelievable array of things that are offered on today's cruise ships, right?
For sure. I mean, I thought it was luxury then, but I had no idea what luxury was.
I mean, let's face it, any day you can walk out and see pretty much a 360-degree view of the ocean. It's a pretty luxurious day. I don't care if you're on a dinghy or if you're on the most luxurious ship in the world, it's still pretty magical. What about you, David? How did you develop that love of travel in your life?
Always loved to travel. Started out with a school trip to Spain when I was 14. Then I spent a couple of summers in Israel as a teenager. Didn't go on my first cruise until I was married to Cindy, and her parents took me on my first cruise. Fell in love with it so much that I joined the business. And it took us on a princess cruise. And I said, oh my God, people live like this? And that's what I said, sign me up.
Absolutely. Now, Seize the Seas, as you were mentioning earlier, has been a member of the Avoya Network for a long time. A couple of years, we'll be celebrating 20 years with you guys. Pretty amazing. Yep. How would you describe being part of the Avoya Network, and what is it about the network that keeps you a member?
There are many things. Of course, the first thing that differentiates Avoya is the live lead program. That differentiates Avoya from every other host agency. If you're good at prospecting your own next client, maybe Avoya is not the best place for you. You can do better if you're good at getting your own business. But if you're good at closing sales, once you're given a lead, and you're good at talking on the phone, establishing rapport, generating a relationship with a client over the phone, but your weakness is prospecting, where do I find my next client? That's what Avoya is all about. And we've been able to, I call it outsourcing my marketing to Avoya, and allows me to focus on what I do best, which is selling and servicing the clients. And that's what I love about Avoya. They do so many things that are above and beyond what a host agency has to do for us. The technology is amazing. The services are amazing. We were talking to a fellow travel agent, not with Avoya, and they were telling us how they're laying out money for shipboard credits, and then they have to wait for the commissions to come in to get it back into their pockets. And I said, well, Avoya does that for us. With an offer match program, we put a request in, we We have to give a shipboard credit to a client. They do the shipboard credit. They take it off the gross commission. They share it with us, the cost, but they also do all the work. They're the ones who submit it to the cruise line, a vendor. And that alone is a huge contribution to our time and our bottom line and everything. And the network is amazing. People are helpful. People are, the Facebook discussion group, which is relatively new for us. We can ask questions. We can console each other when there's difficult issues. But everybody's helpful. Everybody loves each other. It's friendly. Maybe not love each other, but friendly enough. And the technical support and the financial support. And yeah, go ahead, Cindy. I drink the Kool-Aid.
You know, in our marketing for potential new affiliates for the network, Cindy, we always talk about Avoya's best-in-class resources. And David, of course, was just highlighting some of them. But I know you guys kind of operate, even though you're part of one agency, you both have, you know, the way you deal with clients are slightly different. What are some of the resources that you find really valuable as an affiliate?
The support request to get help. Any questions I have, I can always put in a request and get an answer. And if they don't have the answer, they will find an answer. There's always someone that you can write to also. So that's very helpful. Seeing what we're going to get paid, the accounting format and pulling that out is fantastic for each individual client. So that's helpful. Watching the seminars, webinars, that is fabulous because you're learning all the time. You're never sitting still. You're always learning because the business is changing every day. So it's definitely our support system, even though we've been doing it for a long time.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Let me follow up on that question really quick, Cindy, in that, you know, one of the things that we hear sometimes people say is, if I'm part of Avoya, do I lose my sense of self? Do I lose who I am as an agency owner? How would you speak to that?
You never do. It's not even a question because you are the owner. They are your marketing. They get you the leads. You just pick up that phone and take off from there, sell the client. The client's yours as long as you're keeping them active. They're going to come back to you. So you are the owner.
Can I add something there?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, another good thing about Avoya is our reputation with the vendors. When I have a problem or an issue or a snafu, when I call the cruise line or land operator or the wholesaler and say, I'm with Avoya, problems get solved, doors get opened. So many things happen faster than if I were independent. That's number one, but I never lose my independence. I can call the business development manager of any company directly. They know that I own C's to C's and we're part of the Avoya Network. We never lose our identity. But what we do is we have this great big, you know, dragon on our side fighting for us as well. So yeah, it's the best of both worlds. I have no boss. I make my own hours, travel when we want to. Before COVID, Cindy and I were on cruise ships about 60 days a year. And of course now not, but that'll change again.
Yeah, it was pretty obnoxious, like just being social media friends, if you want to know the truth about it. I mean, I really do think so highly of you guys, but I was like, you know, it was like that old thing on the Today Show, like, where's Matt Lauer now? I mean, it was like, where's David and Cindy this week? You know? We're
having a blast. We're living the life. Never could have dreamed we'd be doing what we do. And there were others on our heels too, you know, who are, you know, nipping at our heels doing the same thing we do. And that's great. And, you know, as far as the network growing, which is what your bailiwick is, you know, people say, well, you know, if you get too many agents, is there going to be fewer leads to go around or less support because there's so many people? And it's been just the opposite. If Avoya grows, we grow. And if I thought otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking with you. You know, we really do believe that as Avoya grows, it benefits us.
Very well said, and thank you for that. We're chatting with Cindy and David Locke, owner of Seize the Seas, an independent agency in the Avoya Network. And together, year after year, as we've said, they're always top as far as our performing agencies. So first things first, congratulations to you both for that. But what I want to know, and I'll start with you, David, then I'm going to come to Cindy for her thoughts on this as well, is what do you see as the secret to your success? What do you guys do that helps elevate you to that top level?
Okay, there is no secret sauce. The secret is we're with Avoya and we work. We service our clients. We call the leads. We follow up. We service them well. I don't send birthday cards out. I don't send bottles of wine. I don't chat for no reason. I call my clients to be friendly with them. What we do is we do our job and we do it well. And we just make sure that we're the people they call when it's time to, come back. Avoya emails, everybody on their list every week, I think. So we don't do a lot of emailing on our own. For our existing booked clients, we maybe email a couple of times a year when something new is happening. We keep it very discreet, what we do, so they don't trash us, what is it, the spam? But there's no secret. You take the lead, you call the lead, you work the lead. I do most of my correspondence by email because I find it more convenient for both ends. I can send it when I'm ready and they can read it and reply when they're ready. But I think the phone contact has a better closing ratio as far as new customers, better to set up a rapport with somebody. And then you're just there for them. There is no secret. The Avoya leads are qualified. We have great relationships with the vendors, and know your product. We know what we sell. We specialize in a few cruise lines and land vendors, so that we have contacts there and we are in their top of their mind as well. You can't be all things to all people. So another good thing to do is specialize. And that's my thing. Go ahead, Cindy.
Cindy, I want to just add on that as I solicit your answer too, because, I know David said there's no secret sauce, but I pretty much know that I could blindfold the two of you by the pool on a certain ship and you could guide me without even seeing down to where the main dining room was, probably where the ice buckets are located, everything. So I know that you guys take a great deal of pride in being experts on the vendors that you work with and the destinations that you send people. Could you speak to that for a second?
I do keep, when I talk to people, I do keep certain websites up. So I always see deck plans and I can pull up while I'm talking to them. I'm either booking their cruise without them knowing. So you want to know the vendors' websites. And even if they don't take the cruise, I'm still booking it for them. So I do have different websites that I work with. So they have to think that you know everything. They have to think that. And I also am very friendly with them. I act like they're my friend and I listen to what they say. I write down their problems so I know next time. So how's your back this week? I don't call them as just to chat, but while I'm talking to them, I get all that information.
Yeah, that personalized service. I mean,
yeah.
Knowing your clients and then being relatable to your clients has always been a phenomenal way to be able to close no matter what industry you're in. So as a bit of a follow-up on that, what about a tip or a bit of advice for an experienced agent that is hoping to move into that luxury space? What is it unique about working with luxury clients maybe that you would just offer as a bit of advice so that maybe they could be more effective?
Never be afraid of the fact that they're booking a $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 trip. Never be afraid of the money, because they're just like you, except that they have more money. So
one of the things Cindy taught me, and I learned from others as well when I first got in the business, and it's still true today, is as a travel agent, don't shop for your clients using your pocketbook.
Right.
It's not your budget, it's their budget. If they say they want to go on this $50,000 cruise, don't react. That's their budget. That's what they want to spend. And if they come back and say, no, that's too much, you just say, okay, we'll fix that, But you've got to be able to relate to your clients. We are very apolitical with our clients. I've got clients who try to pick a fight with me politically, and I just shy away from those conversations. But yeah, you have to relate to your client, and don't be afraid of the price tag.
So let's chat for a moment on the current state of the industry. David, what are you hearing from clients right now? Are they excited to travel? Are they a bit apprehensive, a mixture of both?
I get a mixture because I got a call yesterday from an old client. They want to book something next year, a river cruise in France. I found a cabin, I found the ship, I booked everything, I sent it to them and said, here it is. The deposit is due next week, think it over. They called me this morning and said, we're still afraid of COVID, we don't want to go. I said, it's next August. The whole world's going to change by next August. And they said, we're just not ready to make a commitment. And I said, fine, call me when you are, we'll let this expire. So they're anxious to go, they want to go. For the most part, we are booking a lot, but there's also some of that trepidation still. And that's just the nature of the environment right now. All these countries are opening up to no testing anymore, like I don't know, Israel and someone else just opened up. Can't think of it right now at the moment, but they're relaxing all the requirements. So travel is coming back. The countries want tourists to come back.
For sure.
And the demand is there. There's 2 years of pent up demand, almost 3 years of pent up demand. And it's there. We're seeing that in our level of phone calls coming in.
Cindy, are you finding, and we've heard this from other people, like this whole concept of like revenge travel, right? I mean, like, I'm going to get revenge on COVID by taking such an amazing trip this year that I'll show you. Are you hearing any of that? Are clients like maybe before, I guess when you're talking in the luxury space, they were luxurious, but now they're like mega luxurious?
Yeah, I find people are booking sometimes twice as much because they lost 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it revenge, but they are booking. It's like the lost years, they're booking more. I said, well, I didn't spend the money in the last 2 years, so now I can spend it. And getting back to what David said, I have some people that are fearful, and I tell them, I'm always honest with them. I tell them, you know yourself, you know your body. I can't tell you you're not going to get it. So just like going to a grocery store, no one can tell you you're not going to get it by going into a grocery store. But they usually go. I only had one person that changed his mind after I spoke to him because he was much older and at higher risk. So
I mean, being able to help people talk through the issues and I think that probably helps you in that you don't sound like a salesperson when you're being that open and honest, right? I mean,
yeah, I would never be I don't consider myself a salesperson. I'm 100% honest with them, and they know that, and that's why they come back to me because they know they're going to hear the truth.
I'm not quite that honest. I had someone, well, in the sense that I had someone yesterday I spoke to who wants to bring his portable dialysis machine onto a cruise. I mean, he's on kidney dialysis, and he's a machine that he can handle himself, and it's portable now, which is a great improvement over years ago. And in my head, I was going, are you out of your mind? But I said, no, as long as you're comfortable and vaccinated and whatever else, and you want to go, they can handle it. But yeah, people want to travel. People definitely want to travel. A lot of people we have retired over the past year or two or three and have had bucket list travel booked for 2020 and 2021. And now we're into 22, 23, 24. And they're still anxious to go. They still haven't been able to go yet. So the demand is unbelievably pent up. I've got some clients with $750,000 in future bookings right now over the next 3 years because they planned to go for the past 3 years and couldn't. So they're putting it on in the next 3 years. Yeah, I mean, it's the demand is there for sure.
What about a hot spot that luxury travelers are really focused in on? Or is there any couple of hot spots right now that are just really percolating up?
Cindy?
Iceland is very popular. I think a lot of people that don't feel comfortable going to Europe are going to Alaska. We're doing that. South America, Galapagos. So, David?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, they canceled the St. Petersburg stop because of the war in Ukraine. And we lost a lot of bookings this summer because people said, if I'm not going to go to the Baltic, unless I can go to St. Petersburg. But they've rebooked doing the Norwegian fjords instead. Asia hasn't opened up yet, but it will eventually. Maybe not China so much, but Japan will open up, I hope. And it's just difficult time right now. But the Galapagos, South America, even domestic travel, the Great Lake, the national parks tour, the Great Lakes cruising is now getting a big surge. Canada, New England, close to home stuff. They don't need a visa. They don't need to worry about, entering the country again. If they test positive, they're already in the country. So those are the things that are changing, but I think that's temporary. I think Europe's going to be big. I think Asia's going to be big. South America, Australia, New Zealand was always a big one for us. So I think it's coming back. It's just a question of the world getting used to, COVID the way we're used to the flu.
I always said that this COVID is kind of like the whole world is a snow globe and the snow is still settling, right?
Yeah.
The globe might be sitting in one spot right at the moment, but the snow is still settling in the whole world. And we're still trying to figure out what's going to come from that.
That's good. Yeah.
What about things that you guys like to do for fun when you step away from the agency for a little bit? I mean, what's like any fun hobbies that you do or things that, I know you travel, but.
We travel, we eat. After not being able to. What's that? What was that, Cindy?
I said, that's our hobby.
That's our hobby. Restaurants are our hobby.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and we miss the travel so much. We do local day trips occasionally, but even then, here in Florida, for 2 years we couldn't even do that. So, we're pretty much homebodies when we work. Work is our hobby too. If you love what you do, it's not work. And so, when we have a free moment, we'll look at our screen and log into the Avoya, agent site. That's our hobby. That's what we get a kick out of it. It's not work. So
it's pretty awesome when you can do what you love and love what you do, and all of it kind of really works out that way. And it's so great to see your enthusiasm for it too, especially after everything that we've been through for the last couple of years. So you've been probably just about everywhere that a person could want to travel to. What are some highlights of places that you've been that just, even now, just really stand out and you say, wow?
Galapagos.
Galapagos.
Yeah.
Galapagos for both of us was
Asia.
I would say life-changing. Galapagos is a life-changing trip. It really is. You stand there and the iguanas are crawling over your feet and you go, I've been waiting for this my whole life, since I learned about the Galapagos in 5th grade. And then you get there and you say, I'm one of the people who's been here now. And it was the first cruise ever that Cindy got off the ship and said, I want to turn around and go back on. Usually we say, okay, we've been there, done that, what's next? This she wanted to go back to. What else, Cindy?
Cindy said Asia.
Asia. Southeast Asia was great. We love Europe. I love being in Europe, no matter where it is. And I loved Southeast Asia, especially. And what else? Where else have we been?
Australia, New Zealand.
Really, New Zealand. I want to live in New Zealand. Yeah.
So what about places that you haven't been that are still on your wish list? That must be hard for you guys to come up with places that you haven't been to that you still want to go to.
India.
So big.
Taj Mahal.
We haven't been to India. We haven't been to, the only place in Africa we've been to is Morocco. So there's the whole rest of Africa, South Africa, Egypt, Central Africa, We haven't done much of South America either. Antarctica. What else? Iceland, we haven't been to.
Right.
So there's a lot of places we have not been. And we're looking forward to it.
Franz Joseph Land.
Franz Joseph Land. Do you know where that is, Chris?
I'm not sure.
Franz Joseph Land. Look, you have to look it up.
Okay, I will. My homework for today.
Franz Joseph Land. You'll find it on a map, but you got to look hard for it.
I will.
Yeah, there are places we haven't been, exotic places. Also, when you cruise, it's sort of like visiting a city like for a day. It's cruise. It's London 101. And I want to go back to some places that we haven't had a chance to spend many days in. We've cruised the south of France, from Lyon to Marseille or in Avignon and Arles, about 3 or 4 times already. But I never spent time in those places. And I would really like to take, spend a week or a month in south of France, in London, and spend time. And by the way, I will also bring up to our prospective and fellow agents, when we travel, we work, because that's what got us on this trip to begin with, is handling our customers. So we have visual voicemail on our phones. So when someone leaves a message, it comes through as an email. I can read what they spoke and decide how I have to respond. I can email them and say, I got your message, or I can call them back if I have to. But we don't work 24/7, but we are available and responsive to our clients no matter where we are in the world. And that's how we do what we do.
That's pretty amazing. So one last question, and I'm going to start with Cindy, and then we'll get the final word from David, which probably is how it would have been anyway, right, Cindy? My one last question is that when we look at when we look at the future of our industry, what's your feeling? Are you optimistic, Cindy, about the future of leisure travel and as we emerge from all of this COVID, where we're headed?
I'm definitely optimistic. And I think that people are just going to get used to that word COVID like the flu. They're going to accept it. You don't stand next to people and they have the flu. It's going to be the same thing with COVID. And people want to live. They don't want to stay home. We're busy now until like 7 o'clock every day, from 9 to 7. Really busy. So I'm very optimistic.
David, and your thoughts on that? I used to say, as long as they keep building the ships, I'll fill them. And now, even more so, the people with the big bucks who are building ships are still building, and they're still ordering new ships, and they expect to fill them. And they're smarter than me, and they have more money than me. So if they're still building the ships, they're optimistic. The hotels are being built. All new resorts are being built everywhere. Yeah, I'm very optimistic that travel is here to stay and here to grow. There's different, it's changing. They're not outdoing themselves for huge ships. Only a couple of lines are doing that. They're going into the luxury expedition ships, the smaller ships. The resorts are growing like crazy. I can't even keep track of the resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean right now. So people are going. People are traveling. They'll fill them up. Frank Del Rio just said it at a meeting with Avoya last week. He said, we're not going to lower our price. There is demand. We'll go with a less full ship if we have to, but we're not going to dilute the pricing and the value of the product. That's a pretty confident thing to say. That he thinks
sure is.
He can make money without having to discount empty cabins. So if he's optimistic, hell, I'm going to follow him.
Well put. David and Cindy Locke, owners of Seas to Seas, an independent agency in the Avoya Network. Thank you both for that amazing discussion. And thank you both for always giving me and my team something and someone to brag about, because your success is a really vital part of our network. We love sharing your story. It's always great catching up with the two of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I hope everybody really enjoyed that conversation. Hey, we're going to be off next week. We're going to see you in 2 weeks when we're going to be back here for another episode of On Deck with Avoya. your weekly travel update. We're certainly looking forward to that. Of course, in advance, we wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And of course, try to remember what the holiday is all about as well. So let's really quick talk about some resources, because we have them. Whether you're new to the industry, whether you're just a newbie in the industry, but you're trying to go to the next level, whether you're already an amazing travel agency, but you just want a little bit more from who you partner with, reach out, get connected with a network expansion specialist. We're more than happy to give you all the details about Avoya Travel, and together we can put together a shared success relationship, much like we enjoy with David and Cindy Locke. Can't promise that you'll have the same level of success, but as David said, there is no secret sauce. So what are you waiting for? How do you get a hold of us? Pretty easy stuff there too. My email, chris.green@avoyatravel.com. You can pick up the phone and give us a call. And I always recommend that you spend a few minutes at avoyanetwork.com. It has a wealth of information. Our FAQ is on there, so you'll certainly get a lot of details about Avoya Travel. But I'd love to connect you with someone on my team and see if we can't add you to the network, because we're going places. The future is very bright, and we're very, very excited about that. Again, a big thank you to my special guests, David and Cindy Locke, today for that wonderful discussion. Big thank you to Marissa Smith and Annabella from our trade marketing department, who do a wonderful job in producing our show. And thank you for being part of On Deck with Avoya. Until we see you in 2 weeks, take care, everyone.